Wamanjika, Kusazangpo, Kimcho, Salamat Pagi apa khabar, Asante Asana Bawana, Talofa, G'day, how are you? Today, I want to talk to you about awareness and understanding of the bush for yourself as an individual. A lot of us go for bushwalks or go camping, go fishing, go skiing, canoeing, rock climbing, gold prospecting, take photographs or filming, go for picnics, or even just go for bike rides in the outdoors, in the bush, which is great. Sometimes it's just for 2 hours, sometimes it's for a long weekend, sometimes longer. Now, whether you're old or young, whether you're of primary school age or secondary school, whether you're an adult, every one of us needs to have an understanding of the outdoors and the environment. And we have to be prepared. Now, this might be a bit of a common sense subject, but a lot of us aren't truly prepared. We ignore what we should be doing before we even set out on a bushwalk, even in a place like this, a national park, which is fairly close to homes and suburbs. You still need to take things with you for your comfort and for your safety. You might only be here for 2 hours, and I don't want to seem paranoid or grim, but you know, a lot of us might not know how to react if they come across a kangaroo in the bush, or they might come across a snake. They might end up with a snake bite. What to do? They might twist an ankle. They might walk down a bank towards a river with their fishing rod, and they slip over and twist an ankle. Or they might have a sixth sense, a gut instinct that they're being paralleled and watched by a bipedal hominoid, i.e. a Yowie, Sasquatch, Sabe, Bigfoot creature. And this is more common than what people realise. Now, I haven't done any statistical investigations, but I would say, I would bet that there are more people who go out into the outdoors, whether they're a bushwalker or a camper or a photographer or a fisherman or a hunter. There's probably more of us who have experienced this phenomena with these humans, Sabe, Sasquatch, Yowie. More people have had encounters than people who have twisted an ankle, or who have been bitten by a snake, or who have come across a a mob of kangaroos in the bush and they've run across the path and the bushwalkers is all frightened. Oh, what do I do? Do I stand still? Do I run? Do I walk the other way quickly? Yeah. A lot of us are being more and more prepared. And one basic item which people take nowadays is a bottle of water or a vessel that carries water, along with their mobile phone and probably house keys and car keys. And that's great. But you have to take a few more items with you, physical items, like a lighter or a box of matches, a basic first aid kit, perhaps mosquito repellent or suntan lotion. Most of us wear decent walking boots. Most of us wear a jacket or a raincoat if it's going to rain or if it's cold. But we don't take basic supplies with us. We only take our keys, our wallet, our water bottle and our phone. We can't do that, people. Even on a basic 2-hour bushwalk. Now, I aren't saying take a backpack full of camping gear with, cooking utensils and, 5 kilograms of firewood and fire lighters and 2 days worth of food, but perhaps some of us should do that, or at least know how to gather firewood in the bush. And always, I would highly recommend purchasing a PLB or a personal location beacon. And there's a couple of buttons here. One is a test button and one is the emergency button, which you press. And this aerial here, this black aerial, you pull out in an emergency. Depending on where you live, what country you're in, I think this one cost me like $400 or $500. For me, that's a basic thing which people should have, whether you're have and carry with them. It's no use purchasing it and leaving it at home and going on a bushwalk, even if it's for 2 hours. Put it on your belt, next to your keys. And even on my keys, I've got a whistle. Yeah? Little bits and pieces that add up, which can help you if you come into a situation which you need to react. It's all about safety and security and awareness and walking out of the bush as fit and healthy as it were walking in. What's the time? 10 minutes. So please, at home, write down a basic list and, buy a little, it doesn't have to be a massive backpack. It can be a small pack, it can be a shoulder bag, and just put a few extra bits and pieces into it. Enlarge your first aid kit. Not only have one lighter, but have 2. One might fail. or have waterproof matches and a lighter. Put in a notepad, a couple of plastic bags, a couple of pens, maybe a map, maybe some tweezers if you get a splinter. Maybe a spare pair of shoelaces. Waterproof your boots before you go into the bush. Even if it's summertime, you might end up crossing a river or a creek. Basic things like that. So be a little bit more prepared, people, please. But also, as I reiterated before, comparing Yowie sightings or Sasquatch sightings compared to the number of people who have twisted an ankle or been bitten by a snake, we need to be aware that these people, these bush people, these other humans exist. And as I mentioned before, there's different types of these humans. They come in different heights and hair colours and strengths and powers. You may have had an experience years ago and you simply didn't understand what was going on. You might have had a branch fall down really close to you and you might have just passed that off as, oh yeah, that's just the wind, or as a dead branch falling down. Gee, that was a close call. Or even a tree being pushed over. You walk down a bush track and then you hear a tree fall right next to you or behind you or in front of you. These humans do that. These humans, these Yowie, Sasquatch, Save people do throw objects at people. Rocks, pine cones, logs, trees, they push over trees. You might have heard a weird noise, a weird scream, a weird yelp or a chattering, and you might just put that down to an owl hooting, or a moose, or a possum, or a kangaroo, and their noises. Or maybe you think it's a fellow bushwalker playing games in the bush, trying to scare other bushwalkers in their group, and you just dismiss it. Oh, that's just some kids playing or whatever. But actually it's a Sasquatch, it's a Yowie, it's a Yeti, it's a Bigfoot human. We need to educate ourselves. We're not taught this in school. We're not even taught this in Scouts or Girl Guides about Yetis and Yowies. Sasquatch, Save, Hairy Man, Green Man, Grass Man, Almas, Capri, Junjari, Dog Man, Apple Sprites, Fairies, Goblins, Pixies. But they're here. Please educate yourselves. And one of the most important things is learning about your sixth sense and your gut instinct. You might hear bipedal footsteps crunching through the bush, following you, and you might think, that's just a homeless person, or that's just a gold prospector cutting through the bush, or or a mushroom picker or a photographer or someone who is looking into snakes and they're scrounging through the bush, but they're actually not. They're not a mushroom picker or a child playing games. They're actually a Yowie or a Sasquatch or a Save. Get in tune with your sixth sense, even now. I can hear some bird noises and that's good, but be aware of silence and what silence means, please. This is for your own safety. Don't be scared, people. Please don't be scared. Just be aware. And I know a lot of people laugh at it, but laughter is a sign of being scared. You know that. How many times have you yelled at a friend or argued with a boss or a colleague and they've laughed at you? That means they're scared. They know you're right and they've just laughed at you. Always look up as well, look around. If you hear something fall, if you hear a branch break, if you feel that you're being watched, look around and especially look up. These creatures, whatever they are, whether it's a pixie or a Sabe or an apple sprite or a dog man, be aware of your surroundings, learn your gut instinct. If you're feeling scared, and this is one of the key lessons, if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling threatened, come back, turn around and walk the other way along the same path. Do not bush bash, do not cut through the bush and run away on a different path which you might think is a shortcut to your car or a shortcut back to your camping group or your picnic table. Go back along the same path. And what I've come to understand as well, a lot of the time nowadays I'll see shape-shifting or something shape-shifting. It's like a black and white image. It's like the film Predator. It's like a watery, out of focus figure. Sometimes it's only for half a second, and I thought I saw something up in a tree here just now. It was only for a split second. Don't dismiss things like that. As I say, don't be paranoid, but just be aware. And most of the time, if you're a good person, and this might seem odd, if you're a good person and you don't litter and you care for the environment, they will probably only, if they want to, if you get too close to their home or their water source or their family or food source, they'll probably just scare you out of the bush. They won't kill you or harm you. They do imitate noises as well, other animal noises, especially owls and bird life. They do have their own language, some of them. But there's all sorts of noises a lot of these creatures make: yells, screams, whoops, growls, grunts, chattering. Sometimes they'll clang two rocks together. Sometimes I'll grab a piece of wood and hit that wood against a tree, and it's a very loud knock, or two knocks. Just be aware of your surroundings. But as I say, very importantly, be aware of silence. When it goes silent, when the birds stop chattering or the cicadas stop, and it's dead silence, that's a sign to get out. That's a sign that they're very close. You may not see them, you may not hear them, you may not smell them, but if it goes silent, get out straight away. Even if you've just arrived at a car park, at a picnic ground. A lot of people who have come to a picnic ground or come to a waterfall, and they've jumped out of their car, or they've got off their bicycle, off their mountain bike, or out of their four-wheel drive, and they've gone to look at a view or go to a picnic table, and it's dead silence. Get out straight away. Be aware of their smells. Some of them give off really foul, rancid smells, like a rotting flesh, or a sewage, or a wet dog, or a sulphur, burning electrical smell, decomposing strong, rancid flesh or leaf litter, wet dog smell, feces smell, body odour smell. So yeah, just be aware of the signs. Be prepared, be a little bit more prepared, people, with physical objects, a light or a first aid kit. Even take a foldable handsaw in case you need to cut up firewood. Let people know where you're going. That's very important as well. Where you're going and how long for. That's about it, really. But as I say, don't be aware. Be aware of this subject. Because as I said at the start, I would bet my left arm that there's more people who have had interactions with these humans or other cryptid creatures than who have twisted an ankle or been bitten by a snake. They're all around us, on every continent on Earth, whether they're a pixie or a goblin or a Sasquatch or a Sabe. They're here. We aren't taught about this. We aren't taught about the spirit world and the underworld. Be aware of even losing time, losing consciousness. If you get tinnitus for some strange reason suddenly, if you're feeling out of focus and you're feeling lost suddenly, if you're feeling weak suddenly, if you're feeling sick suddenly, that's another sign as well of, there's various links. The subject of Yowies and Sasquatch and Sabe It's all linked to other subjects, whether it's orbs or portals or time travel or UFOs and aliens. It's all linked. But these bipedal hominoid creatures are probably the main focus, which is a very good starting point for you on your journey of learning about the environment and the outdoors. Everyone should know about them. I know that governments know about them. The media knows about them. National Parks and Wildlife Services know about them. But they won't talk about it. It's a cover-up. Okay? It's a shame. And the reason why they don't talk about it is because if they're open and honest to us about them, well then that'll give away our ancestry and our history as Homo sapiens. And that's another subject which people need to be aware of. We have to have a basic understanding that humans are the only animal, the only creature on Earth that alters its environment drastically for it to survive and thrive and breed. Whether it's logging, whether it's mining, whether it's growing crops and farming. No other animal does that. Fair enough, elephants push over trees and beavers build dams and whatnot. But humans are the only animal that totally changes in its environment. And we haven't evolved this way. It's another thing you have to look into. We haven't evolved this way. We have to a certain extent, but our DNA has been changed deliberately. Some say our DNA has been altered at least 5 times so far in our history. And that's why we're so different. That's why we only have 5 basic senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste and smell. Yes, we have a sixth sense, we have a gut understanding, a gut feeling, and that's probably our sixth sense, but these other creatures also have mind speak and projecting emotions and shape-shifting. Perhaps us humans had that as well, or some aspects of that, but it's been lost through time, through generation after generation. It's an interesting subject, it's a complex subject, but the main thing is for you to have a basic understanding of, I want you to have a basic understanding of these cryptid creatures, of these other humans. You don't have to be a botanist or a scientist or a cultural anthropologist to know and understand of these other people and of these other cryptid creatures. You just have to do your homework and look into it. Look into First Nations stories, newspaper articles, YouTube channels, documentaries, tens of thousands of everyday humans, bushwalkers, hikers, hunters, loggers, school children, scientists, army personnel who have experienced these experiences with these other humans. Okay? I'll let you go. I'm being tracked by this helicopter. They're going to shoot at me. I better pack up and run. See ya.